Good afternoon, traders. Welcome to the More Analytics Afternoon Energy Podcast for February 10th, going into the 11th. I'm going to start off with natural gas. Okay, we've been bearish overall from $8.20.8 to the downside. We've seen $6.68.6 to the downside. More recently, the failure below 383 warned of pressure, and we've come off down to 306.10. A number of other bearish calls in here. The most recent one was trade below 339.20, projects this downward 240 minimum, 860 plus maximum. We detained 331 of that coming into the day before short covering a bit. Now, I'd also caution that we're either in a bearish correction or a trend against the move up from 257.80 with possible exhaustion to contend with on the way down to 301.90 to 297.30. That is the final exhaustion, and we have entered into the time window for that to hold more than temporarily if it's going to hold. If it holds, we could start a whole new bull structure out here for 450 ticks plus to the upside. If it doesn't and we fail down below here, especially if we settle below there, we're likely going to head down to the 257.80 area and lower, and then that would suggest that this is trending in nature and not corrective. If we leave a maintained gap higher tomorrow, that'll leave a minor bullish reversal below on the day. And trade above 348.90 plus 2 per hour starting at 6 o'clock p.m. That'll also warrant decent strength. Okay, in the crude oil, kind of quiet day today. Tomorrow has a reasonable likelihood of range expansion. I'm not going to go over the higher time frame stuff, most of which is on hold anyway. The trade above 63.57 minus 2.8 per hour. I said projected this upward $1.30 minimum, 3 plus maximum. We'd seen $1.31 of that here before rolling over a bit. Then we've been hovering underneath this other formation up above. Decent trade above that, which is going to come in at 64.43 minus 1 per hour starting at 6 o'clock p.m. That'll warrant a decent strength. Although I wouldn't lean against that as a long. If we break above that decently and back down through it decently, look for decent pressure to come in. Decent failure below this formation right here, which is going to come in at 63.23 plus 1.3 per hour starting at 6 o'clock p.m. That'll project this downward $2 minimum, $6.10 plus maximum. If we break below there decently and back up through it decently, look for decent short covering to come in. A decent penetration in there is going to be 84 ticks overnight. After the open, it would be 75 ticks. And in the RBOB, did not go out looking strong on the day. Now, by the way, I'm just going to skip around here for a second before going into RBOB. I had warned yesterday that the RBOB crack, if we leave a maintained gap lower, would leave a minor bearish reversal above. No, we didn't quite get a gap there, but pretty close. That did not go out looking strong on the day. Neither did the RBOB to heat. Maintain gap lower in their RBOB to heat will leave a minor bearish reversal above on the day. That doesn't mean to say I think that this is going to come off overnight. It just didn't go out strong. This may actually see higher trade again. But going into tomorrow, the RBOB is the weakest of the three, the heat in the middle, and the crude the strongest of the three relative to one another. Okay, so jumping back over to the RBOB, this went out fairly weak. Tomorrow has a good likelihood of seeing range expansion. I'm not going to go over the higher time frame stuff in the RBOB, but we held exhaustion below with the 169.78 low and bounced 30.25 cents. If you recall, when I made that call, I said that we should exceed, if it was going to see a run up, it should exceed 20.3 cents from that low, with a minimum target of 190.10, and we've rallied up to $2 even. And however, I did also warn that this is a major formation right here, and this is possible exhaustion. And we basically held this. We popped above it a little bit up here to 2.03, and it started to roll over. If this holds and continues to roll over, we could see a sizable correction to the downside, likely coming off down into the 188 areas, especially if we fail back down through this formation right here. That formation, we broke above at 194.91 minus 3.3 per hour. We saw 5.12 cents of that so far on the upside. If we were to fail back down through that decently, that's going to warrant a decent pressure. That's going to come in at 193.68 minus 3.3 per hour, starting at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. A decent penetration in there is going to be 225 ticks overnight. Now, if we take out this formation on the upside, we should see substantial higher trade. That's going to come in at 198 to 193 overnight. That'll project this upward at least 3.5 cents, which is just a minor blip, but could have much more substantial projections to the upside, to the tune of 25 cents plus. If we were to break above there decently and back down through it decently, look for decent pressure to come in. But like I said, that could be the final stage of this run up, and this could be the beginning of a bearish correction. We'll have to see. If not, and we take this out, we're likely going to head up and test this next exhaustion level up here at 203.92. And then the heating oil just sort of been range bound. Tomorrow has a high likelihood of seeing range expansion. I'm not going to go over the higher time frame stuff in here. The break above 240.98 minus 10 per hour. I said now warrants a strength. That was the pop above here, but we've just been traveling down above it. If we were to fail below this formation right here, that's going to warrant a decent pressure. That's going to come in at 239.28 plus 4.4 per hour, starting at 6 o'clock p.m. And this formation just below that, which comes in at 237.96 plus 3.2 per hour. Those will project this downward 5.6 cents minimum, 12.5 cents plus maximum. If we break below either of those decently and back up through them decently, look for decent short covering to come in. Decent penetration in there overnight is going to be 283 ticks. Okay, and your Brent has a decent likelihood of seeing range expansion tomorrow. Okay, we basically held exhaustion above with a 70.58 high and rolled over $5.39 into a bearish correction, a trend against a move up from 58.45. But then we broke above this formation, putting that on hold. I did not have this originally written in there, but we've seen a pop from it, and now we've been kind of consolidating under this. Decent penetration above that is going to be, which comes in at 68.85 minus 1 per hour, starting at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That will warrant a decent strength, although I would not lean against it as a long. We break above there decently and back down through it decently, look for decent pressure to come in, though I would lean against it as a short. Decent failure below this formation right here, which is going to come in at 67.48 plus 1.5 per hour, starting at 8 o'clock p.m. That'll project this downward $2.10 minimum, $5.80 plus maximum. If we break below there decently and back up through it decently, look for decent short covering to come in. Decent penetration in there overnight. It's going to be 85 ticks. Gas oil tomorrow has a high likelihood of seeing range expansion. Bear with me a second. Let me just check something here. Just got to calculate something. So we saw decent penetration below this line right here, which now warrants pressure. That came in here at 684.60 plus 17 per hour. And by the time we broke below that, it was trading 685.45. So now that warrants pressure. I'd keep that in mind, thinking about the crude and the RBOB. A further break below this formation right here, which is going to come in at 675.08 plus 10 per hour starting at 8 o'clock p.m. That'll warrant of additional pressure. If we break below this decently and back up through it decently, look for decent short covering to come in. If we break back above this formation, actually this descending formation, which is probably going to come in lower, that's going to warrant decent strength. That's going to come in at 686.44. This ascending one's going to come in at 686.30. A decent trade above those will warrant decent strength again. And we already went over the cracks and the spreads. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on tomorrow's podcast.